says 7:30, so I hereby call to order the reorganization meeting.
There's something going on with it.
Give me a second.
All right, Dave, try now.
I hereby call to order this reorganization meeting of the Morris Plains Board of Adjustment on January 27th, 2025. All please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby announce that this meeting is being held in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Open Public Meetings Act. Proper notice of meeting dates is given to the Morris News, the Morris County Daily Record, and posted on the bulletin board in Borough Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to those issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and a form appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Karen, roll call, please.
Mr. Baza? Mrs. Cortez?
Here.
Mr. Eaton?
Present.
Mr. Karr?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Here.
Mr. Webster?
Present.
Mr. Schulz?
Here.
Mr. Rizos?
Here.
And Mr. Cianciano.
Here.
All right, this is our reorganization meeting, so the next order of business is election of officers for calendar year 2025, and I turn the floor over to the secretary.
Can I have a nomination for board chair?
I nominate Mr. Schulz.
Second.
I'd like to thank him for his service, continued service.
Okay, is there any other nominations? Okay. Can I have a roll call? Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Karr?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Mr. Webster?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Abstain.
Mr. Rizos?
Yes.
Ms. Cianciano.
Yes.
Okay. Nominations for board vice chair. May I have nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Mr. McCabe.
Second.
Okay. Are there additional nominations? There being no further nominations, I declare the nominations closed and ask for a roll call. Okay? Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Karr? Mr. McCabe?
Abstain.
Okay, Mr. Webster?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Rizos?
Yes.
And Mr. Cianciano.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to congratulate both Mr. Schultz and Mr. McCabe on your election.
I'll have a few remarks under special announcements of the chair, but I'd like to continue with the reorganization. Next on the agenda is a resolution to approve the board's legal representation for 2025. Board of Adjustment Resolution number 25-02 is offered for the board's review and approval. Are there any questions on the resolution? This is a resolution that appoints Michael D. Sullivan Esquire of the firm of Stickle, Koenig, Sullivan & Drill LLC as Board of Adjustment Attorney for this year.
Motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
Okay,
Karen,
who's
roll call,
that,
please.
Mr.? Thank you, roll call. Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Karr?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Mr. Webster?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Rizos?
Yes.
And Mr. Cianciano.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we need approval of the board secretary for 2025. Can I have a motion to approve Karen Coffey as secretary to the board?
Motion.
Second.
Okay.
Karen, I heard Lisa and Bob tied, so you can figure that out. And
Lisa can have it.
And Karen, roll call, please.
Okay. Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Karr?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Mr. Webster?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Rizos?
Yes.
Ms. Cianciano.
Yes.
And Karen, I ask this every year, but this may be the year. Is it 30 years yet?
Oh, it's over 30.
All right. Congratulations again,
Well,
Michael.
it will
Thank
be
you for coming back.
31. It will be 31. Thank you.
I thank Karen, Michael, and our borough professionals for their continued service to the board and borough. Next on the agenda is resolution set dates for the regular meetings of the Board of Adjustment for 2025. Board of Adjustment Resolution number 25-01 is offered for the board's review and approval. We are going to take out language on the draft that was distributed that talks about the Star Ledger. The Star Ledger is actually ceasing publication in February or March, depending on what source you read. And we are just keeping it to the Morris Newsby and the Daily Record. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion. As amended?
As amended? That was Mr. McCabe. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Eapen, Karen, roll call please.
Okay. Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Eapen?
Yes.
Mr. Karr?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Mr. Webster?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Rizos?
Yes.
Ms. Biassiata. I just want to make sure I got it as Mr. McCabe and Mr. Eapen. Am I correct?
Yes. All right, special announcements of the chair. I would like to express my gratitude for one more opportunity to chair this board. This is my 20th year of being on this board, and most of them I served as chair. I will repeat what I said in November. I've got 2 years left in my term. I've asked the mayor not to reappoint me. I've had a remarkable time on this board. I think 21 years is enough. I've also indicated that I would like to not be chair next year. Right? I think there should be a smooth transition. And again, I'm repeating from November, but I urge board members to speak amongst themselves, speak to Mr. McCabe, speak to me. What is it like to lead a board and take the next 2 years to smoothly transition? I'd like to thank Doug McCabe for his debut last year as vice chair and returning this year. So, a lot to learn, and he's learned a lot last year, filled in a few times, and I'm sure that'll happen this year. And I'd like to repeat my thanks for all the board members, professionals, and staff. As we begin the year, I want to note that Mr. McCabe is being reappointed by the mayor for a 4-year term. Mr. Rizos is alternate 1 for a 2-year term. Congratulations to both. And as a point of pride, and I usually never have an audience, so I share with you, as a point of pride, I want to note everybody on this board, including the year that service began. So Mike Baza, who's absent tonight, 2007, Bob Webster, 2012, Mark Karr, 2013, Saji Eapen, 2015, Doug McCabe, 2015, Lisa Cortez, 2018, Dan Rizos, 2020, and Bart Cianciata as the new guy in the block, 2023. You add up all those years of volunteer service, and maybe add some EMS and fire and other boards and other stuff. It's a remarkable tenure of everybody on here, so congratulations all. Also in the audience, I see Councilman Bill Houston. Bill is this year's chair of the Borough Council's Ordinance and Public Utilities Committee, and as such is the governing body's liaison to the board, and it's good to see him here. I'm sure he and I will talk frequently throughout the year to ensure that he is informed of board activities. And of course, I see the mayor present as well. So I'd like to open the floor to the public in a few moments, but Mr. Mayor, any comments? And then Bill.
So first of all, I'd just like to thank everybody for your service, dedication to the borough.
Excuse me, Jason, just talk closer to the.
Can you give us your name?
I swear I thought I could avoid all that. So really, thank you everybody for your time and your service and dedication to the borough. It means a tremendous amount. It's part of what keeps the wheels going around here. People often don't give you as much credit as you all deserve, but you're out here on cold nights, hot nights, away from your families, away from activities that you could otherwise be doing. So to sit up here for the numerous years that the chairman has said is really commendable, and I want to thank each and every one of you. So thank you from the borough. I want to congratulate Dave and thank you for your service over 20 years or 20 years now, 15 or 16 years as chairman. That's commendable. And Mr. McCabe, I don't know what you're getting yourself into here, but we'll see where it goes. But again, thank you very much and congratulations on your tenure here and being the vice chair. Karen, 30 years, 31 years is remarkable. Thank you. And thank you to the professionals for really steering this board and helping guide them throughout all these applications and whatnot that come before them. So, again, thank you very much for myself and from all the citizens of Morris Plains. Thank you.
Houston? Bill Houston?
Yeah.
You're getting your microphone. I'm scolded.
Yeah, Bill Houston, oh, I'll go over there. So, Bill Houston, I just want to echo what the mayor said. You know, thanks to all of you for doing what you do. You know, I've learned a lot. I've attended a lot of these meetings over the last year plus, so I've learned a lot from you guys. You know, appreciate everything that you guys do for the borough. So, you know, I'm the new kid on the block, right? Learning, not new kid, but new guy on the block, but learning a lot. You know, just trying to understand how I can help. So that's why I'm here, but I'll let you guys do what you do. So appreciate it all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, Karen,
Mr. Chairman, if I could, for one more thing. If you see the mayor tomorrow, it's his birthday.
Happy birthday.
Nobody heard that.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. All right, the next item on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes of the December 16th, 2024 regular meeting?
I do have one. Page 4, a little more than halfway down, where it says Mr. Schulz asked. It says Mr. Schulz asked from questions from the board. I would have gotten that wrong myself.
Okay, where is it?
The 4th page,
Yeah.
a little more than halfway down, Mr. Schulz asked.
Yes. Oh,
Says
okay.
from
Typo.
questions. Little typo there, that's all.
Very good, okay.
Any other corrections? Mark, would that correction also be a motion to approve as amended?
Sure, approved as amended, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
And we can do a voice vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstentions?
Okay, so who abstained?
They jumped the gun.
Bart and Bob Webster.
They
Okay.
prematurely abstained.
This part of the meeting is to hear comments from members of the public on matters other than those items on tonight's agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to make comments?
On which?
On items other than those on tonight's agenda. So if it's on tonight's agenda, it opens it up at the right time. Anything else? Seeing none, I'll close that part of the meeting. At this time, I would like to ask board members, all who have been provided with a copy of the agenda for this meeting, to review the items on tonight's agenda and announce any recusals that may be warranted. For the memorialization, those who recuse from the case do not recuse themselves from the memorialization, just abstain.
They're not eligible, they're not.
You don't have a vote. No other recusals? No recusals? Good.
I'm recusing, yeah, myself, yeah,
Anything?
on the,
For Mitchell?
right, yeah, Mitchell. Yes, also on, there, I'm not voting on that. And I'm
You're
recusing
recusing
on
on
that.
BA
Yeah, I'm
6-24,
recusing on
right?
BA 624,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. And give me just a moment. I forgot my beverage back there. All right, the first application on tonight's agenda is application BA 524, Matthew Mitchell, 30 Jacquai Avenue, Block 63, Lot 6. The application was approved at the December meeting, and tonight we have a resolution memorializing the approval. Board of Adjustment Resolution number 25-03, describing pertinent application and testimony, information, findings of the board, the conditions of approval has been prepared for the board's review. Any questions on the resolution? And as a reminder, only those who voted yes on the application can vote on the memorialization. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Karr and Mr. Eapen. Karen, roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Eapen,
Yes.
Mr. Karr,
Yes.
Mr. McCabe,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
and Mr. Rescusals.
Yes.
All right, before we go further, I'll ask Board Attorney Sullivan to swear in the board's professionals for the remaining applications on tonight's meeting.
Would you both raise your right hands? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
We do.
Okay. The next application for this evening's meeting is application BA 4-24, Yevgeny Odikov, 42 Franklin Place, Block 627, Lot 14. The application was deemed complete at the November 2024 regular meeting. Karen, has the applicant paid appropriate fees and has proper notice been verified?
Yes, everything's been corrected and, their taxes are up to par. Their first quarter is due on February 10th. February 10th.
Okay, given this testimony regarding this application may be heard tonight, is there an attorney for the applicant present?
No.
You're the,
No, the engineer.
and you're the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. Would you please put your, state your name and address for the record, please?
Well, let me swear them both in, and then we'll get the names and addresses. Would you both raise your right hands? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Lonzafama, give us your business address first.
Michael Lonzafama with the firm of Casey and Keller, 258 Main Street, Millburn, New Jersey.
Okay, and you're testifying as an engineer tonight?
Engineer and planner.
Okay. And your licenses are in good standing?
They are.
And Mr. Odigoff, you give us your address, please?
42 Franklin Place, Morris Plains, New Jersey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and, Mr. Odikoff, make yourself at home, make sure you speak loud enough into that, microphone, please. You just have the one witness tonight? Your
Yes.
engineer slash planner?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Odikoff, tell us about your application, describe the variances you are requesting, and tell us why relief should be granted. And call your witness, when you're ready.
Yes. My name is Evgeny Odikov, and I'm a owner of 42 Franklin Place in Morris Plains. When I bought this house, it was completely most in trees and bushes, and you couldn't even see part of the property. So my goal is to make it clean, have a nice garage, driveway, and renovated house. So for that, I'm gonna need zoning approval because a driveway, what I'm asking, to make some maneuver when you get out from the garage and getting in, requires some zoning coverage, which is not allowed without variance. So why I'm doing it? Because if you're using some approved coverage of this property, and property is long but short, so you have to use a driveway which is allowed to go only one car, and you definitely will use grass, which will eventually make it a mud situation, and with rain, it's gonna go to all neighbors and including my property as well. So that's why basically I wanted to make it clean and have a nice driveway and keep area clean. It will be beneficial on not only me, also my neighbors and probably the township as well. For that variance, I asked professionals to calculate all these variants. Water drainage and property coverage and building coverage. So they did all calculations and they will present it. Thank you.
Before you call your first witness, I'm gonna ask a question that perhaps you can answer or your professional can answer, but it sets the tone for it potentially sets the tone for your presentation. Karen, this application was received what month?
Excuse me?
This application was received what month?
Just bear with me 1 second. July.
So, as I've walked past the site, I've noticed the property's been under construction for a few months now, right?
Correct.
So the question is, the conditions that are shown as existing on the drawings, are they existing conditions that started at the beginning of the renovation, existing conditions today, or somewhere in the middle?
I have divided this project in two parts. First part was a renovation of the house, and part of the front, which is already has approval, and I have permit for all of this. Right now, house is under construction, but garage itself and driveway is not, because it requires variance. So it's like a second part, which is, that's why I'm here today.
Okay, so the conditions shown as existing on the drawings, they're existing as of today, or they're existing after the initial renovation was done? And your professional's raising his hand, so perhaps he can answer it if he wants.
Yeah, Mr. Ogdoff had engaged us back in March of 2024. So we performed an existing condition survey. That was part of the submission, should be page 2 in your plan set. And that shows the site conditions as of March 18th, 2024. Since that time, we have done some additional modifications to the site, in as much as modifications to the house, the installation of some fencing around the property, which he had valid permits for.
But, were there changes to the impervious coverage over the course of the past few months?
Pretty much, it's pretty much what is existing. As of March, we had a bituminous driveway along the east side of the house. That is still intact. The area in the back is just dirt at this point. I believe the garage is still intact too. The old garage is still in place.
Okay. That answers my question, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so is this a color version of it?
No, this is the actual drawing that was submitted as
Okay.
part of the plan set. It's sheet number 2 entitled Title and Topographic Survey, under my signature dated March 18th, 2024. We did add some additional information in September, but that dealt with some of the utilities that were needed for the analysis on stormwater.
So the drawing on the easel is identical to what was submitted, or?
Yes, it is.
So it's identical to what we issued.
Correct. As part of the package that was submitted to the board, and what you should have in front of you tonight. So,
Mr. Odegaard, you want to lead your consultant for questions, or consultant and self-lead, however you prefer?
I think he wants you to just run his ball at this point. So, as you heard, the property in question is 42 Franklin Place. It's tax lot 14 in block 67. It is located in the R3 zone of the borough. The property is a narrow, deep lot. It's approximately 60 feet wide by 162 feet deep. What I have on the easel is the cover sheet that you should all have before you. And this gives you an indication of the eclectic nature and sizes of the lots within that zone and within 200 feet of the property. The property itself, the total land area is 15,731 square feet, or approximately 0.36 acres in size. The property is not impacted by flood hazard areas, wetlands, or steep slope. It's a relatively flat site, as you can see from the survey, which was sheet 2 in your plan set, as I had shown. Pretty much slopes continuously from Franklin Place towards the south, or to the rear of the property. There are 2 existing non-conforming conditions on the property that are not being exacerbated by the application before you. The first is a side yard setback of 3.02 feet on the west side of the property. And the requirement, as you know, is 8 feet for the zone. And the existing front yard setback is 23.92 feet, where 25 feet is required under the ordinance. The application you have before you is to construct a 3-car garage towards the rear portion of the property. It also proposes a new deck and patio, as well as a new driveway area for bituminous and concrete along the west side of the house. On the application, we originally showed a swim spa. That is being eliminated from the application, so that eliminates a number of the comments in your planner's review memo with regard to fencing and mechanical equipment and lighting and things of that sort. So that is being removed from the application. As a result, the impervious coverage being proposed is also slightly reduced by 42 square feet, because we had calculated the coping around the pool, not the surface of the pool, but the coping around the pool in our overall lot coverage. The garage being proposed is 24 feet deep by 36 feet wide, as permitted by section 13-5.2A. The maximum height, which is permitted under the ordinance, is 16 feet, which is what we are proposing with this structure. As I said, it's a 3-car garage, and the purpose for the 3-car garage is Mr. Ovidoff has a number of vehicles, and rather than parking them along the driveway, he'd like to keep them stored neatly inside an enclosure, so that is what we're proposing. The garage is compliant with regard to side yard setback. We're proposing 6 feet, where 5 feet is required, and our rear yard setback is nearly 62 feet at 81.86 feet. The application requires 2 variances. The first is maximum allowable building coverage. Under section 13-5.223.1, and based upon the lot size, as you know, you have a sliding scale for building coverage based upon the lot size. What is permitted would be 2,401 square feet. We're proposing 2,688 square feet. This is a variance of 287 square feet. The second variance is the maximum allowable lot coverage, which under your ordinance 13-5.2A 23.2 is permitted to be twice the allowable building coverage. So that would put us at 4,802 square feet. The application under the original submission was 8,637 square feet, with a reduction of the 42 square feet for the removal of the pool. That brings that number down to 8,595 square feet. I'd like to point out that we had a typo. We have included on the face of sheet number 3, which is the grading plan, an impervious coverage table. There was a mistake in one of the deck numbers, and so the actual coverage, and this was pointed out in your planner's memo, there was a discrepancy, is not 8669, but it was 8637, now being reduced to 8595. So as you can see, the requirement to get his vehicles into the 3-car garage necessitates a driveway area that would allow for easy maneuvering in and around the property. We're also proposing that the patio that's located just off of the deck is going to be porous pavers. What we found in our exploration of the site and detailing of the site, we did do a permeability or perk test on the property. We found that we had a very permeable soil at the site. We had about 20 inches per hour in the perk test, and I know in Mr. Ryden's memo, he says that that test has to be witnessed by the township engineer, so we'll have to repeat that test to comply with his requirements. So what we're proposing to do to mitigate the impervious coverage, especially the additional impervious coverage, is to propose 2 dry well tanks at the southern end of the property. Runoff from the roof area of the garage as well as the house, as well as the driveway areas would be collected and directed into those tanks. And what we have found in our analysis using our HydroCAD software and doing our computer modeling, we found that not only are we maintaining existing runoff rates, but we're significantly reducing them. For the 2 and 10-year storm, we're actually containing those storms in their entirety. It's only the 100-year event that we would get some discharge from the system. However, these numbers are a fraction of what the existing conditions certainly have today. We prepared a drainage report that's dated July 3rd, and I'd just like to give you some indication of the positive impact that this system has on the overall area. Under existing conditions, for the 2-year storm, the runoff rate is approximately 90.9 cubic feet per second, 0.9 cubic feet per second. And we're reducing that to approximately 0.2 cubic feet per second. So that's a significant reduction in the peak runoff rate. For the 10-year storm, it's a similar impact. We have existing is 1.51 cubic feet per second, and under the proposed condition is going to be 0.33 cubic feet per second. And for the 100-year storm, we have 2.9 cubic feet per second under existing conditions, and we're at 0.55 cubic feet per second.
Mr. Lundstrom, where are you reading from your report?
I'm reading page 2
Right.
of the stormwater management report. It's a site discharge summary table, and I was just compiling the numbers in my head and then comparing them to the peak discharge rates being proposed. Now, one of the major elements that the new stormwater management regulations talk about, they talk about groundwater recharge. The state is trying to get as much water back into the ground as opposed to just detaining it on the site. So we have the advantage here of having an extremely permeable soil at the site that would allow us to achieve those goals and objectives, even though we have impervious coverage that exceeds the allowable based upon the ordinance. So based upon that, what I'm seeing is that these variances could be granted under the C2 criteria of the municipal land use law. And as you know, the board can grant those variances if the variance would advance and the deviation of the ordinance is not that significant that it would cause a substantial detriment to the public good. Now, what I see as the positive criteria is that the granting of the variance and the allowing this project to go forward and allow Mr. Ogadoff to renovate this and rejuvenate this site is to encourage municipal action that will guide the appropriate use or development of lands that will promote the general welfare. I think the positive here is that he's cleaning up a site that was getting run down, and you're seeing a positive benefit to the neighborhood and the community, and the positive of the positive impact of the stormwater management system being employed where none exists today. To provide adequate light, air, and open space, other than the existing non-conforming setbacks, we are fully compliant with regard to setback requirements. It also promotes a desirable visual effect in as much as taking vehicles that might be parked out on the, either on the street or in the driveway can now be parked in an enclosure into a building that's aesthetically pleasing, and the whole site can be clean and well maintained. I don't see any substantial detriment to the public good or the intent and purpose of your zone plan. The benefits clearly are, the provisions of the stormwater management system, the use of porous pavers on the patio, and the desirable visual effect. In my mind, the net benefits outweigh the detriments. And even when you look at your master plan, I thought that we were advancing some of the goals under the 2018 master plan, 7 and 8. 7, goal number 7, was preserving and protecting the suburban character of existing neighborhoods by preserving and enhancing the visual appearance of the residential neighborhoods. This proposal allows for proper storage of vehicles, and we also, as part of our study, did an inventory of homes within 200 and 500 feet of the property. And what we found was that on the building coverage, we did the 500 feet. On building coverage, that about 70% of the lots within 500 feet are also non-compliant with regard to building coverage. And what we found for impervious coverage, we didn't quite take it out that far. We did 200 feet. We found about 34% of the lots in that 200-foot radius are also non-compliant with regard to impervious coverage.
Do you have the data behind that submitted to the board, or is this?
I haven't yet, but I can have that provided to the board, sure. And then I also feel that maintaining the borough's supply of housing types in a well-maintained, safe, and helpful condition is what this application is geared towards. You have the opportunity here to renovate a house that was in decline, and here you have a citizen that's becoming part of the community, and he wishes to just continue that vein of improvement by adding the 3-car garage and the impervious coverage. So based upon those arguments and those facts, I feel that the board would have the grounds to grant the variance under the C2 criteria. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. We did get the review memos from the board professionals. We have no problem providing and amending the plan in accordance with your engineer's comments. We'll make all those revisions and make those corrections. With regard to your planner's memo, I think I've addressed most of the comments, if not all. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, before I ask, open up for board's professionals, can you describe again, you're eliminating, what to reduce the square, that results in a reduction in the?
This small pool patio here, the pool that's embedded into the deck, there's a little coping that we counted as part of the impervious coverage, because pools are excluded from the total coverage.
Right.
So we didn't count the pool surface, but we did include the 42 square feet around the coping, so we eliminated that.
So the pool is still there, the coping's not,
The pool is gone,
in its entirety?
in its entirety. No pool on this application.
And does the deck get larger as a
No.
result? So
No,
you're
it
keeping
does
the deck L-shaped?
That is correct. Yeah, actually, it might even come down further, because the staircase would probably slide down, so you might lose even a little more.
All right. Questions from the board's professionals? Let's start with the engineer, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I submitted comments to the board in my December 3rd, 2024 letter. Mr. Lanzafama has addressed most of them, and they all relate to details regarding mainly the stormwater management. I'm satisfied with the overall strategy for stormwater management here, but there's some details that need to be cleaned up as far as structures and some grading and elevations and so forth. So I think those can be incorporated as conditions if there should move to approval.
And I think I heard from the applicant's engineer that there'd be no problem doing all of that.
All right, now I have one question here in my report that wasn't addressed. How about soil disturbance?
We're disturbing about 11,000 square feet when we're all said and done.
How much, now that's
Oh, you
that's
want
disturbed. I need cubic
yard.
yards of soil movement, if you will.
We're not taking any soil off site.
that doesn't, it's how much you cut and fill on the site with respect to
I
your project.
didn't quite do that number, I thought you were talking about disturbance.
No,
in
so
square
if,
feet.
if
I'd
you
have
are
to work
moving,
it.
I'm sorry, if you're
I'd have-
moving more than 200 cubic yards, you need a permit for that.
I doubt we would do.
So we need to have some
We're not
documentation
moving
to
that much.
support the
I wanna ask
volume.
one at a time, please. I'm hearing three voices at once. Finish, Bill, finish your comment, then I'll, open it up.
We need some calculations to support the testimony that he's less than 200 cubic yards.
And we can do that. And, my client and I are looking at it now, saying there's no way we can move 200 cubic yards of soil on this site.
And the last comment in my report, number 9, has some suggested conditions regarding engineering escrows and the need for Morris County Soil Conservation approval.
Right. We have no problem.
That's all I have.
Thank you. So Liz, I think, so from what I hear, this is a pretty straightforward engineering exercise, as it were. But can you comment on any planning concerns, including,
Yeah,
how this compares to the neighborhood, size of the garage, et cetera?
so I just wanted to go through, just because I think I missed it exactly, the breakdown I have on page 5 of my report, the breakdown of the building coverage. And so you're saying, can you just go through it with me? If the building is proposed to be 2688,
Yes,
okay,
that's the principal residence and the garage.
okay, and the driveway is 4613,
Garage is 4613, the patio and deck that number was off slightly.
okay, so, yeah, so it's.
So that's not, Liz, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that table 2, that's not building coverage, that's improved lot coverage, right? It says building coverage, but we're talking about.
Yeah, it is, you're correct.
Right.
So, sorry, the patio deck is, the walk and the steps is 158, then the patio deck it's not 1168?
No, that is correct, it is not that.
Okay.
It's, so we were off by, the 36, the 8637 should have been the correct number here.
Okay.
So we were off by 40, what was it, we were off by 32 square feet. And so the deck and patio should have been 1136, not 1168.
Okay, and then, okay, so then it's, sorry.
Sorry.
8637, but then that
We're
will go
taking-
down
we're gonna
another
drop-
42 square feet.
Correct.
Okay. All right, then the second question I had is just to understand exactly what you've got, I'm gonna butcher your name, but Mr. Odiego?
Eugene.
Okay, what you've gotten building permits for, exactly?
Building permits I have for entire house to make addition and renovate the section of the house. Then some of the lot coverage on front of the house and on west side of the house was included in my first permit what I already have.
Okay, so,
Fence.
Deck actually also included in it's a part of the house, so deck included in the permit.
okay, so,
Fence too.
Fence is a separate permit, but it's also included.
okay, so when you said the house, is the existing house 2,143? I'm sorry, this is in building coverage, cause that's, we had it as 2,143 and it's going to 2688. But is that just the difference between that, just the garage, or there's an addition on the house?
No, the 2143 included the entire house footprint you see
It's included in
on
addition.
sheet 3.
Yes,
Oh, so that includes the addition?
it's all included, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right, but then the difference between 2143 and 2688 is just the garage?
Correct. That's what bumps us up over the allowable.
Okay,
The garage is what, 864 square feet.
okay. So I guess the question I have is that the driveway, when you go to the breakdown of the building, I keep calling it building coverage, impervious coverage, you're multiplying it almost by 4, or, 4 times in terms of impervious. And I guess I'm wondering, is there any way to limit that? Because you can only have a 1 lane, and I understand you want a 3-car garage, but there seems to be, I guess I'd like some testimony as to why there has to be such a large, paved area between the patio and the garage.
Sure. So the area in front of the garage, remember, there's a 3-car garage. He has a large pickup truck that he wants to keep in the garage, and it requires a pretty extensive maneuvering area. And if he has some cars that, visitors or whatever, that might happen to be there, he wants to be able to maneuver in and out of the garage as well. There is the opportunity to eliminate some of the impervious area that we have approved already as part of the front yard as pavement. So there is that opportunity to take off an area, so it's about 25 feet by about 250 square feet, you could probably knock off without a significant impact on the overall operation of the site.
Okay, and so essentially that area between the garage and the patio is backing up?
Yeah, this is all concrete, so we needed that area to maneuver in. We tried to reduce it as much as we could. We can certainly look at maybe squeezing it down slightly, but we really need that ability to back out and make that K-turn and exit heading out. We don't wanna have to back down the driveway.
Okay, and then the rear yard, like behind the garage will be lawn area? Or-
Yes, that's correct.
Or
It'd be
trees or-
vegetation. We did an exhibit. I guess I should have used some of my exhibits, huh? But I
So we're
brought.
gonna pause for
we
a
did.
moment, mark this A1 and put today's date on it, please. And then you're gonna, after you do that, you're gonna describe
Sure.
exactly what that is.
Mhm. What I've marked as A1 is a photo, an aerial image that we secured from software we use called Nearmaps, which has very high resolution aerial imagery that gives you a sense of neighborhood. This gives you a good indication of what we're proposing, the structures that exist on the site, the patio and the deck that's being constructed, as well as the driveway area. And you can compare it to the homes and the impervious coverages just visually on some of the adjoining properties. And you get a sense that this can clearly fit into the character of the neighborhood. That, and as I testified to, and I could provide you with a submission that I have with me this evening, that summarized what those coverages were on all the various lots. And what we found was that let me find my notes so I don't misspeak. So we did two tables. One was impervious coverage within 200 feet, and we found of the 28 lots within 200 feet, 20 of them were non-compliant with regard to lot coverage. They exceeded the lot coverage.
Why don't we mark that one as A2?
This is
Yeah.
A2.
Yeah,
And then what we would mark as A3 is building coverage within 500 feet. Now, we may have, Karen, did we submit this before or no?
I have one thing here that,
Bill, I think it was, you mentioned that we had submitted it also, I think. We may have submitted this one, I'm not certain.
building coverage within 500 feet.
Yeah, so
We've marked it as A3. What's the title of A1?
with A1,
the aerial.
it just says impervious coverage within two.
A1.
A1 is an annotated aerial photo board prepared by Casey and Keller dated January 23rd, 2025, and is a near map image with the project proposal superimposed over the existing lot. And the photo capture was March 24th, 2024. So that's the date that the aerial image was actually taken. So what we marked as A2 is the impervious coverage, and I can certainly provide you with that. And that indicated that 20 of the 28 lots were non-compliant with regard to impervious coverage. And then we did the similar analysis with building coverage within 500 feet, and we found that 31 of the 89 lots were non-compliant with regard to building coverage, about a third.
To what extent though, right? So.
Yeah, and so that's, you look at that, if we do averages, we're clearly well above what the average would be. But, and that's why I wasn't sure how hopeful this truly was. But it can explain to the board and give you a sense. When I computed the averages, for example, for the for the lot coverage, I came up with 4,095 square feet. But you have such a broad range of lot sizes in this area. It's such an eclectic group of lots that it's hard to know whether or not that gives you a real sense of neighborhood character or not. And I thought the aerial image visually is more telling. And in my mind, you can see the vast area behind the garage that's gonna be impervious coverage. And that's where the drywall system will be installed underground. And that's where all the runoff will be generated to or directed to. And you can see we have some impervious areas along the side and between the back of the patio and the driveway. And if we remove about 250 square feet of driveway area, you can certainly improve the aesthetics along the streetscape. So we see that as a real opportunity.
How many lots are within 200 feet that you analyzed for?
I had 28 lots within 200.
And you said there was a variety of lot sizes?
Yeah.
Can you tell us the sizes of the 28 lots that you looked at?
Sure. This is, this is your tax lot, or your tax map sheet
A4.
number 6. We'll call that A4. And you can see what I have highlighted in blue is the subject property. And you can see the size of the lots vary substantially.
So what is the size of the lot in question here?
15,731.
All right, so that's
So
the base,
I'm looking
baseline.
at my summary here. I have lots ranging from 6,969 square feet all the way up to 32,234 square feet. So you see that there's a broad range. There is a
How many are over 15,700 feet?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6.
6 out of 28?
6 out of 28, and those 6, the impervious coverage, for example, let's see, block 63, lot 41, which is right here. Block 63, lot 41 is a 16,117 square foot property, and it's got an impervious coverage of 8,525 square feet. So it's not all that out of character with what we're proposing.
Mr. Lantafama, of those 28 lots that you referenced in A2, how many are non-conforming as to lot coverage?
I have 20.
20 of the 28.
Correct.
And then with respect to A3, that was the building coverage within 500 feet.
That's
I think you said
correct.
there were 89 lots, is that correct?
That is correct.
And 31 are non-conforming?
That is correct.
So leave data aside for a moment. If you go back to your exhibit A1, and just more of a descriptor versus data, how many properties in the area that you looked at have a garage large enough that it causes pavement that goes almost side yard to side yard?
What we observed was that we have many garages that are deep into these deeper lots that have long driveways. You can see right next to our site, the garage is way back in that corner, and there's this extensive driveway that goes all the way back to there. some of the other, unfortunately, there are some on the far side of Franklin Place that you don't see on this image on the north side. But you can see some of the other, structures, their location, for example, back on this property, there's two accessory structures back here with an extensive driveway and turnaround area. But as I said before, coupled with the stormwater management element and the ability to maintain a significant amount of pervious area at the rear of the site, and the willingness to eliminate some of the impervious areas that we're proposing, I think can help support the application.
But I guess, so, how many areas in the 200 or 500 foot have 3-car garages as a single mass?
I don't know what that number is off the top of my head. I know there are some, immediately across the street, I remember observing, a very large garage on one of these properties, immediately to the north, across Franklin Place. But I couldn't tell you how many.
So Liz, we've gone astray a little bit from your questions, I think answering some of your questions.
But they're important
Any additional planning questions?
No, I just was wondering if there was a way to make the driveway a little bit smaller.
And the answer is yes.
But in the back.
In the back.
In the back.
In the back as well.
You know, I mean, if that's possible, or, I mean, could it be moving the garage closer to the house? I don't, you know?
Would you want it to just remove the garage?
Liz, while they're talking about that, just going through your report, in the event this application is approved, number 2 would have to be carried forth as a condition in your planning comments.
Correct.
But the remaining, I think, are either addressed or not necessary, is that correct?
That's correct, yep.
Can you tell me can you tell me the square footage of the proposed concrete driveway? Just the square part of it? Not
Just the concrete element?
Yeah.
I don't have that number right off the top of my head. Trying to calculate it for you.
What's the distance from the garage to the soil for the house? Just the actual foot, the actual distance in feet.
The concrete area, that L-shaped area, is approximately 2,850 square feet. 2,850 square feet. And in conversation with my client, he indicates to me that he could move the garage 5 feet closer, so that would eliminate about another 5 times 50, another 250 square feet from the impervious coverage.
What if you just shrunk the concrete toward the garage?
Or we could do that as well. Yeah,
Keeps the garage
pull-
where it's at.
Pull,
just
pull
shrink-
this,
Yeah, just a little less coverage.
yeah. So
5
between
feet off of that.
where we're at, so we get down to the numbers. So we said we would eliminate this front portion here, which is about, that's about 240 square feet. And we would eliminate 250 square feet off the back, so that's 490. And we take that off of my, 95.
Again, 8,105.
8,105, and permitted is 4,802. So that brings the overage down to 3,303 square feet.
So I guess, in addition to the calculations, one of the concerns I have is if you go up and down Franklin or in the immediate area, I am not aware of a detached garage that is so large in relationship to the width of the lot. And And that is driving pavement that's, again, almost side yard to side yard. Was there a solution that was looked at that has a two-car garage perhaps, and a smaller driveway resulting from it, reducing your numbers and more in character with the neighborhood?
I think the three-car garage is important to my client's operation and how he lives at the property, the number of vehicles that he has quite a few vehicles.
What
So-
operation is there?
Well,
It's
living there, he's also a contractor, he has a van and a pickup truck that he'd like to keep in a protective area. And so, and having it in the building, in my mind, in a garage, is much better than having it parked on the driveway. So we felt that would be the case.
Liz, ordinance on contractors parking driveways?
Just double check, yeah.
So this, and I know every application stands on its own, but this is, reminds me of an application in 2011, when the garage, the larger garage was better for the occupant, but it was at the expense of the neighbors. So I absolutely buy the argument that it's better for the occupant. What's the benefit to the public?
The visual impact, the lack of having a vehicle parked outside of the garage, the improved stormwater management elements that we're proposing. We've gone above and beyond what would normally be required because we realized that we were over on the overall impervious coverage, and we were trying to reduce that. And we've indicated to you that we can get nearly 500 square feet of this driveway eliminated. We can see what else we might be able to do to reduce the impervious coverage. But I think the three-car garage is important to my client's needs and his desires. And I don't think the garage is that excessive. It does meet the standards with regard to bulk requirement, 24 by 36. It meets the height, it meets all of the setback requirements. We are over by 287 square feet on building coverage. So in my mind, that was not excessive. But you're right, the total impervious coverage is where you kind of get caught a little bit and you say, is there something else we can do here?
There are these 2 3-car garages on the opposite side of the street going toward the pharmacy. Just past the corner of Keenan. And then you have all the garages behind, by Borough Terrace.
Yeah.
They all have larger garages too.
So I don't know if that answers all of your concerns.
I haven't opened it up yet to questions from members of the board. Before I do that, Liz, any other planning questions?
Not at this time.
Additional questions from members of the board?
Yeah, I have one.
Mark?
You talked about 100-year storm
Mm-hmm.
and the drainage you say is adequate for that volume of water.
That is correct.
It seems like we've had 300-year storms since I've been around here.
Well,
And
we're
it just-
using the new stormwater numbers. As you know, the state passed regulations where we have to increase what we used to use for the 100-year storm has been increased, and we're using that larger number.
What happens to the runoff of that? Should it not contain all the water? Where would that water go? at this
It would
point?
go to the south, the natural drainage pattern would be towards the south.
Neighbors' yards back.
Yeah, you have the cul-de-sac, directly behind us, if you look at the, tax map. You have the,
Bangiola.
Baglio.
Bangiola.
Bangiola. I'm Italian, I should know this. Bangiola Court.
As a judge, I had to get it right.
So it would go out towards that street and get picked up by, we assume.
So
by that.
when I walked on that lot, your lot, I didn't look at the lots behind. Are they elevated from you or lower, do you know?
No, the drainage, according to the topo we did, the drainage kind of continues, I didn't go beyond 25 feet beyond the property line, but it appears, from my recollection of being at the site, is that it continues out towards the cul-de-sac.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Your perk test,
Yes,
how would
sir.
you compare that to other soils? I know over there is a lot of river rock and sand.
We
So
had a
that
lot of
perk
sand.
test that you did, how would you compare that to like an average soil that somebody had
It
you know,
was
dirt.
extremely permeable. We couldn't even keep water in the excavation, in the hole where we were trying to do the test. Under the state regulations, you're not allowed to record a perk rate greater than 20 inches per hour. So that's what we used 20 per hour. And then when we did our hydraulic analysis as required by the state, we cut that number in half. So we only used 10 inches per hour in our analysis.
So it's your testimony that based on the current conditions versus your proposed conditions, if we got one of those 100-year storms, we'd be better off with this than we are in current conditions. Is that your testimony? Mhm. Do you agree with that?
I do.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Okay.
Because that is a significant improvement. And as you said, there are other lots in the area that are, as we said, it was not conforming. Okay, but the biggest thing is one of the bigger issues is the output of putting the concrete driveway side to side, which again, I think anything that can be done to limit that to a certain degree is the way to go.
Okay.
But that coupled with the improved drainage and, you know, I think that's a significant step in the right direction. As long as,
Again, yes.
and the other part is that you still have to witness, the engineer, somebody has to
Right,
witness
we're
the
gonna
testing.
repeat the test.
All of the other conditions
Right.
have to be met. And then on the building side, so the two variances are the lot coverage and the building coverage, and the building coverage is over by 200 and some odd.
287 square feet.
Okay.
Which is basically a garage bay? Does that math work out?
Those are not on the drive. Oh, you'll do that, yeah, but you're gonna want, all these are.
Can you tell us what's right behind the, paver patio, that area right there?
That's gonna be our lawn area, landscape area.
That's one.
We were just labeling the soil type there. That's what that.
Do you have any landscaping proposed for the sides of the driveway, so the neighbors are not
We
looking at a?
didn't- We didn't develop a landscape plan yet, but we can certainly do that and share it with your professionals as a condition of approval.
What's the width of from the concrete driveway to the sides of the property line on both sides?
From across this section
Yes.
or here? The larger section is 50 feet. So we
The
have
space,
5
the
in
space for growing something between the concrete and the property line.
front.
What's that space?
There's about 5 feet. There's 6 feet on this side, about 4 feet on the far side.
4 feet.
Is the existing fence that's on the property staying on the property?
Is the existing?
Existing fence?
Yes. Yeah, it's a new fence, he's just put it up.
Right, that's the fence,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Will that extend past where the garage is, the fence? How far does that fence go down?
You got it all the way to the rear property.
So it's all the way to the rear, yes.
It goes all the way to the rear property line, it comes up and it terminates at the front section of the house.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the wall up here.
Liz, your memo, I think, indicated that a new fence was being proposed around the perimeter, is that?
Well, I think that this was something that they'd already gotten the permit for.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's 6 foot high PVC solid white fence,
It's 6 foot high?
6 foot high.
It's a nice fence.
What are you proposing for the exterior of the garage?
We do have, the architectural plans that were submitted. I'm sure that those are not prepared by my office, but by architects. No. It's vinyl siding to match the house. The house is like a gray.
Yeah, it could be, it's a much of the house.
Excuse me, we'll mark that as A5?
That's part of what was submitted. It's D01, this was submitted as part of the application. Yeah, this was the architectural plans of the garage.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions from members of the board of this witness? And a final one, so if the building coverage is, the building coverage overage is what again?
287 square feet.
So, I'm sorry, say again?
287 square feet.
And that's without removing the 250 square feet in the front?
That's building-
the
building
garage.
coverage.
That's the building
Right.
coverage.
Yeah.
Impervious coverage,
Is more.
what did we say? We said that impervious coverage is gonna end up being, 8,105 square feet, as opposed to 8,637 as originally proposed.
And ballpark, if a bay were eliminated from the garage, what would the coverage overage reduce to?
The building coverage, so if
The
we
building
reduce,
coverage will meet the quote.
it'd be 24 by, would you take a full 12?
Hold on, I think your client might be answering, I need an answer to this question. Who's
We
it
only
coming from?
offer one car garage, because two car garage is on the zoning coverage.
We'd be 288 square feet less, so you'd actually.
So the variance would be eliminated.
The variance would be eliminated.
Okay. And, if the coverage were less and the paving were reduced, of course, accordingly, combined with other moves that you've made, the total impervious lot coverage would be down pretty far as well.
288 square feet. If we took off a bay, we've already said that we could reduce the total impervious coverage down to 8,105.
But if you took off a bay, you wouldn't need that width of concrete from almost property line to property line. Correct?
If garage is, if,
You could.
if garage is staying where it is right now, then it's, required some concrete pad or whatever driveway to the garage anyway.
Could I make a suggestion?
For shift the garage.
I know you could go back, sitting
Turn the garage long ways, like two big bays and then.
Move it over just 4 feet. 10 feet outside.
If I look at this,
Yeah.
David, I have a couple of questions. Your garage,
For-
that's stuff
let
outside.
me let the answer finish.
This way.
Yeah.
Move it 6 feet.
Then we can continue over from the driveway.
You could kind of center it too. That's good, you don't have to come out on the other side. There are ways we could reduce the width of that, we were just talking about using the bay on the garage. We might be able to shift the garage over slightly, so that instead of 6 feet here, we might be able to increase that to 8 or 10 feet. So then that would allow us to lop off a section of the driveway area here. And then we could just trim maybe another 2 feet off the side of the driveway as it approaches the garage. So we can reduce this from 50 feet to about 45 or 44 feet. So that would further reduce it, give you the ability to put some plantings in there.
Giving you still 3 bays?
We still need the 3 bays.
It would still give you the 3 bays.
It would still give us the 3 bays.
Would you still need a building coverage variance?
That is correct.
Okay, but what, you'd have to, I mean, at some point, this all has to get quantified.
Saj, you had a question?
Sure, I just wanna make sure I understand, so as it stands right now, subject to what you just mentioned, the impervious coverage breakdown is approximately 3,300 square feet above what's permitted.
That's
Correct. And I'm looking at chart A2, correct me if I'm wrong, according to A2, of the 20 properties listed, only 4 exceed the permitted, impervious coverage by 2,500 square feet?
Correct.
And in fact, the majority of them are less than 1,200 square feet
Correct.
above the required zone. Okay. Oh, sorry, above what's required.
How many of them have, the dry wells?
None that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay.
They're all older construction.
Any questions from board members? Now is the time for members of the public to ask any questions of this witness. Okay, seeing none, we'll close that part of the application. Any closing statement? Any public comments?
He wants to say
Hold
something.
on, I'm sorry, I missed one part. Any public comments? So not necessarily, not questions, but comments on the application. Okay, seeing none, we'll close that, and now your opportunity for closing statement.
Yeah, as I see, it was a lot of question about how
Excuse me,
to,
sir, you have to speak into the microphone.
it was a lot of questions how to make driveway smaller. It may be better for lot coverage, but it's
I can't hear you.
but it's definitely not better if at some point a wheel of the car will go on grass, then it will become a mud, and every rain will smash it again to the neighbors. My point was to have a little bit more, and because we have a dry wells, it will collect all the water, but the yard will be clean, and not only my yard, neighbors' yard also will be clean. If you're making it smaller, it's impossible to maneuver and definitely will be some mess. That's the only my concern.
All right, it's now time for the board to deliberate, put your opinions on the record. If this application were headed towards approval, Mr. Sullivan's writing down some conditions.
Yeah, in addition to our standard conditions, we would carry forward comment 2 from Ms. Laney's January 23, 2025 memo. Then with respect to Mr. Ryden's December 3rd, 2024 memo, I think we would carry forward 1 through 6. And then comment 8, we would need confirmation that the soil disturbance was not going to exceed 200 cubic yards.
Correct, and then.
And number 9 also.
Yes.
Any comments for good, comments for, against the application, comments for the application?
I think with the pervious coverage and the testimony we heard, that the soil is extraordinarily pervious. The calculations are kind of different than what's existing in the rest of the neighborhood as far as coverage. I may suggest if you want a bigger parking area, maybe some pervious pavers on the edges on the outside, so your tires don't go in the dirt or grass or whatever you're doing. I like the 3-car idea. The bigger the garage, less stuff outside. That's how I feel. I think it'd be a great improvement for the neighborhood. I think there are some other existing structures in the neighborhood that are similar. Maybe not with the driveway size, because I'm not sure what those driveways are, but I think it's a decent plan.
I agree with Bob as far as the 3-car garage. I'm a big garage guy. I know the house wasn't part of this application, but I just wanna say the house looks really nice. Fits well in the neighborhood with the other houses that are there, different kind of architecture, a little bit different from everybody. It looks great. I feel confident in walking the property that, you know, it's gonna be out of sight, out of mind, pretty much. Your fencing is adequate, and, it's far enough off the road that no one's gonna see beyond your house, really, into your backyard, so. I'm in favor of the application.
Comments?
I think that, his proposal for a 3-car garage basically alleviates any eyesores of construction vehicles outside or in the driveway, and basically makes for a nice clean appearance. And I think that the drainage proposal, I think, more than covers the fact that we're increasing the impervious ground by such a large number. I think that he's taking care of the obvious issues that arise as of having a larger impervious area than that's allowed. So I'm in favor of the proposal.
I'm in favor of the idea. My concern is, though, is how much over we are in impervious coverage. You know, the 3,100, even though there are exceptions, and we talked about, well, at least tonight, well, we could do this, we could do this. I'm not sure if any of that, how that's gonna all get memorialized in the final resolution, but, you know, I would like, I guess, a final plan saying, you know, based on the conversations here tonight, this is what we propose, and this is what the impervious coverage above standard, or, you know, above what's permitted is gonna be, before at least I can comfortably vote on it. I like the idea, I like the 3-car garage, I agree with the comments, but, you know, a lot of it's been like, oh, we consider doing this, we consider doing that, but I, at least for a vote, don't have anything permanent in front of me to say, this is what the impervious coverage is gonna end up being, therefore, at least a number I'm comfortable with.
Well, definitively, so far, I mean, they came in with 8,637 square feet of coverage, then took off the pool, which was 42 square feet, then they indicated they would take off 250 square feet off the back, 240 feet off the front. So right now, the application as amended is lot coverage of 8,105 square feet. Okay, there was some other talk about shrinking the garage or taking a little bit off there, but that's definitively the numbers that we have thus far.
I think your lot, you've shown that you have a difficult lot to work with. I don't think that a 3-car garage for a 2,600 square foot house is that out of the ordinary for, you know, what we see in Moore's plans. I agree it's gonna be a big chunk of concrete in the back, you know, but I like that you were willing to trim the driveway in the front, so for anyone driving by the road, it's gonna look like a 1-car driveway. And as you know, Bob said, that you're gonna drive by your house, you're not gonna see the back of it. So I think you did a good design given the constraints of the property. So it doesn't bother me.
I'll let you go.
So I'm a little bit, from an engineering perspective, I agree with all the calculations done. This is going to result in a better stormwater solution. From a planning perspective, I am not convinced that this benefits the public. I am absolutely convinced that it benefits the applicant. That's pretty clear. But I am not here to change people's minds, so I hear most people headed towards approval.
When you say it doesn't benefit the public, you're just talking about the building coverage.
Right, so when I look at,
Just the building, not the impervious.
Correct. So
Okay.
when I look at this diagram on the first sheet, and I say, all right, you know, where else in this area is something this big? I can find a single example. So there's one, but you know, when I look at the rest of the neighborhood, is there anything that's this big, kind of this close to the house and causes this much impervious in the back? And the answer is not really. So, but I look at the neighborhood as a whole, and I say, is this too much? And there's a 2-bay solution that would basically eliminate one variance and bring down the impervious. That's why I'm thinking home.
Right, but that's why I asked the engineer, the impervious condition is benefited as they put in, not just reducing the driveway. I mean, to me, that's going above and beyond helping eliminate it, which is a good thing. You know, that's the one part of it, and the building coverage. So you get, in my head, it's really the one variance they met what they needed to do, in my opinion. The other one is 287 square feet, which is not small, but it could be offset by reducing a bay, but then you wind up with the side effects of maybe cars in the driveway or in the street. It's neater. Public, in my opinion, the public good is served by that as well, so, yeah, I feel pretty good about it, but that's just my opinion.
Is there a motion either way in this application?
Bill?
Mr. Chairman, question for you. So, Mr. Sullivan came up with a definitive number for
Impervious
total,
coverage, yes.
total impervious coverage. Is that
8,105 square feet.
okay? So they get to configure it whatever way they want within
Well,
that.
no, I think what they said was that includes removal of the pool, which was 42 square feet. The cold base, well, the whole pool is coming
Yeah.
out, okay? They indicated 240 square feet of driveway in the front, and then 250 square feet, I guess, of driveway also in the back.
Okay,
That's how I got to the 8,105 square feet.
fine. Okay, just as long as we have some defined parameters for it.
Would the applicant consent to submission of a plan to the borough engineer and borough planner to confirm all this? as a
Well, I think
condition of approval?
that would be a condition, a revised plan, definitely.
I'll make a motion to approve with the standard conditions and the conditions outlined by the board attorney, including the new plans.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Karen, roll call, please.
Okay, now, is this approving it and memorializing it, or?
The same way we always do it, it's a voice vote which will be memorialized at a subsequent meeting.
Roll call vote.
Yeah, roll call vote,
Okay,
yes.
but is it a draft or
I
memorializing?
have no idea.
No, we never memorialize same meeting.
My question is, Saji has said we won't use it since the
That's what we.
Well, that would be, that condition was included in the motion,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
And there's a motion and a second, so if Saji's uncomfortable, he could vote no to the application, but we'll go down and do roll call, please, Karen.
okay. Mrs. Cortez is not here, so.
Recused.
All right. Mr. Epen,
No.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. McCabe,
Yes.
Mr. Webster,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
No.
Mr. Rizos,
Yes.
Should be one more.
and one more, Mr. Cienciano.
Yes.
All right, so your application is approved.
Thank you.
Again, I think the deliberation shows the board doesn't always have to agree, there can be differing opinions, and the application is approved. Next month's agenda, there will be a resolution memorializing said approval, and that's it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
We will take a brief bio break. So it's 8:56, at 9:05 we will reconvene. 8:56, we're gonna take a break, 9:05. we will
Oh, yeah, you have the key. I guess mine.